This is Cambridge IGCSE for Chemistry Paper, Paper 2, Multiple Choice Extended, February-March 2016. Variant 2. Question number 1. Two gas jars are set up as shown. The lid is removed and the gas jars are left to stand. After some time, the contents of both gas jars are brown. Which process causes this to happen? There will be diffusion. B. Question 2. Which piece of apparatus is used to measure variable quantities of a liquid in a titration? A is a conical flask, which is not suitable to measure volume of liquids. B, C, and D are respectively measuring cylinder, a burette, and also a volumetric pipette. Now, in order for us to measure a variable amount of liquid, a pipette will not be suitable as it's only be able to measure fixed volumes of liquid. So it's either B or C, and since we're doing a titration process, a burette will be more suitable. Question 3. A sample of a green food coloring was separated into its component colors using paper chromatography. The results obtained are shown. What is the RF value of the blue spot? Now, to calculate RF value also stands for retention value for chromatography. Use the formula of distance traveled by the solute over distance traveled by the solvent. Which can be measured from the baseline to the solvent front for the denominator. And also for the numerator, we can just refer to the blue spot and its distance from the baseline. All right, so use your ruler and measure this out of this, and you should be able to get the answer. Now, I have another technique. You can think of it as like a racing track, all right, where the baseline is like the starting line, the solvent front is like the finishing line. The blue spot is like, well, how much, or should I say, how many percentage of the race has been completed? So in that sense, right, it's completed roughly a 45%, which is equivalent to 0.45. So we can actually don't have to measure this and then just make a rough guess if you don't have time for that. Now, question 4. In which row are the substances correctly classified? Now, element is the, well, the substances you can find in the periodic table basically is a type of chemical, and it's sulfur that we can find in the periodic table. And then compound will be water, which is H2O, and then brass, which is a mixture. Typically, it's an alloy, which is a mixture. Number 5, which molecule contains only single covalent bonds? Now, the technique for covalent bond is that group 1 forms, sorry, not group 1, but our group 7 elements form a single covalent bond. Group 6 elements form a double covalent bond or 2 single covalent bonds. Group 5 elements form a triple covalent bond or 3 single covalent bonds, for example. And then group 4 elements form, well, 4 lines. So either a 4 single covalent bond, single, double, single, triple, those are like the variations possible. So from here, chlorine is a group 7 element. So together with its partner, it will be able to form only a single covalent bond. So the answer is A. For the other particles, carbon is group 4. It forms, well, 4 lines. And then oxygen is group 6. So it forms 2 lines. So in that sense, they form a double covalent bond each. Nitrogen is a group 5 element. So it will form a triple covalent bond with the other atom. And oxygen is group 6. So it forms a double covalent bond with another oxygen atom. Now, question 6. Which structure represents the sodium chloride lattice? Now, first of all, this is an ionic compound lattice. It's an ionic lattice. So I would say A is not possible as sodium is having a positive 1 charge. Chlorine should have a negative 1 charge. Chloride. So A is wrong. D is also wrong, as the small negative particles are not ions. It's too small to be a negative ion, but instead these are delocalized electrons, which is actually typically in a metallic structure. Right, the following is a metallic lattice structure. So it's either B or C. In that sense, we have to figure out sodium's electron arrangement and also chloride's electron arrangement. Sodium is 2, 8, 1, and then forming its ion is 2, 8. Chlorine is 2, 8, 7, which form an ion of 2, 8, 8. In that sense, chloride is larger than sodium. So the answer is B for board. Question 7. X and Y are isotopes of the same element. Which statement is correct? Isotopes are atoms of the same element with the same number of protons, but different number of neutrons. So in that sense, since they are the same element, they should have the same number of electron shell, right? Particularly, they are the same atom, and then they should have same chemical properties as they have the same number of outer shell electrons, and also the same electron arrangement. So in that sense, we will have C as an answer. They have the same number of outer shell electrons. Question 8. Which quantities of chemicals will react exactly with no reactants left over? Now, this question will rely you on your skills with equations, I would say. So carbon reacts with oxygen gas to form carbon dioxide, and magnesium reacts with oxygen gas to form magnesium oxide. And to balance the equation, we have 2Mg and 2MgO. Now, the idea is we have to figure out the mass ratio. 12 grams of carbon will react with 32 grams of oxygen to form 44 grams of carbon dioxide. All right, that's the mass ratio. How do I find the answer? I look at the chemical, I look at the coefficients, and then I'll just use the periodic table, the mass values, to allow me to calculate the mass ratio. It's a 12 to 32 to 44 ratio. For this particular example, we have 2 magnesium, which means 2 times 24 is 48 grams. Oxygen gas is 32 grams. We'll make, well, magnesium is 24 plus 16, 40. 2 times 40 is basically 80 grams, all right, of magnesium oxide. So in that sense, from our answers, we just need to observe which one fulfills this mass ratio. And the answer will be D for donkey. So where magnesium and oxygen is reacting in a 24:16 ratio in terms of mass. Question 9. Magnesium nitride is formed when magnesium burns in air. Magnesium nitride is an ionic compound. What is the formula for magnesium nitride? Magnesium is group 2, which forms +2 ion. Nitrogen is group 5, which forms a -3 ion. So you swap and simplify this formula, you get Mg3N2. So answer is D for donkey. Moving on, question 10. The electrolysis of concentrated hydrochloric acid is shown. Which statement describes what happens to the electrons during electrolysis? The electrons will move in the external circuit and in a particular direction, which is from the through the circuit, should be from negative to positive. So we don't really have that, but then it's true that it will be added to hydrogen ions. The reason is because for this solution, it contains hydrogen ions and also chloride ions. Hydrogen ions are positively charged. If you get attracted to the negative cathode and undergo reduction at that location, where these hydrogen ions receive electrons to form hydrogen gas. So in that sense, the answer is B for boy. Question 11, which reaction does not occur in the extraction of aluminium? So extraction of aluminium basically, well, refers to our aluminium oxide getting, well, extracted, sorry, not extracted, getting modified and turned into pure aluminium and oxygen gas. So in this process, in terms of the half equation, aluminium is getting reduced into aluminium atoms. Our oxide ions are getting oxidized to form oxygen gas, which happens throughout the equation. Right? This happens at the cathode, this happens at the anode. Meanwhile, because we're using graphite electrodes at the anode, the oxygen gas that is produced reacts with the graphite anode, which happens. So answer is B for boy. We are not doing reduction of aluminium oxide using carbon, but instead we are actually trying to break it down using electrolysis. Furthermore, carbon is less reactive than aluminium, which means this reaction is actually not possible. Question 12, which substance could not be used as a fuel to heat water in a boiler? That will be oxygen because the rest are actually fuels. Ethanol, hydrogen, and methane are all good fuels, whereas oxygen itself cannot be used as a fuel. It needs to be combined with a suitable fuel. Question 13, which role describes an endothermic reaction? In an endothermic reaction, the energy needed to break bonds must be greater than the energy released by forming bonds. Because this is an endothermic process for breaking bonds, for forming bonds is an exothermic process. In that case, our answer here should be A, where temperature decreases through an endothermic reaction. Question 14, a reversible reaction is shown. Which statement about an equilibrium mixture of NO2 and N2O4 is correct? In an equilibrium, the rate of formation and rate of decomposition of N2O4 should be equal to each other. And our forward reaction is an exothermic reaction. Hence, our backward reaction is an endothermic reaction. Our N2O4, when it breaks down, it should be an endothermic reaction. So answer is D, but let's double check. A, if the pressure is decreased, the amount of N2O4 increases. When we decrease pressure of an equilibrium mixture, that will actually favor the side with more gas particles. So instead, the equilibrium position shifts to the left, which instead your N2O4 should not be increasing, it should be decreasing. And for B, if the temperature is increased, it will favor the endothermic reaction, in which in that case is also the backward reaction. So equilibrium position shift to the left, so it should decrease instead for the amount of N2O4 formed. 15. Which statement about catalyst in a chemical reaction is not correct? A is correct. Catalyst is not used up in a reaction. B, catalyst actually does not increase the energy for reacting particles, but instead it increases the rate of reaction by lowering the activation energy. Question 16. Zinc is extracted from zinc blende by roasting it in air to form zinc oxide. The zinc oxide is then heated with carbon to form zinc. Which statement about the reactions in 1 and 2 is not correct? Let's check one by one. Sulfur is experiencing an increase in oxidation number from a -2 to a +4. So it is oxidized, which is correct. Then our zinc is going from a +2 and still it is +2. So it is not actually undergoing any forms of redox. And so answer is B, right? B for boy. Yeah, B for boy. Let's check other answers. Carbon is a reducing agent, which is true. It actually takes in oxygen, right? It takes away oxygen from zinc. And then for zinc, it is undergoing a reduction because it went from a +2 in its oxidation number to a 0. So the answer for question 16 is B. Question 17. The diagram shows an energy level diagram for a reaction. And the reaction is actually an exothermic reaction because it is having a greater energy content of reactants than products. So it's exothermic. And increasing the temperature increases the rate of reaction. A reason for this is that because it actually increases the rate of collision between the particles, not decreasing the activation energy. 18. Concentrated hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. What is meant by the terms strong and acid? The word strong means it fully ionizes in water, and the word acid means it's a proton donor. So D for donkey. Question 19. Which oxide is amphoteric? Which will be our aluminium oxide or zinc oxide that are most commonly asked in the syllabus. Calcium oxide is a metal oxide, and sodium oxide is a metal oxide. These two are basic oxides. Whereas for carbon monoxide is actually neutral oxide. Move on. 20. A salt is made by adding an excess of insoluble metal oxide to an acid. How is the excess metal oxide removed from the mixture? Now, metal oxides are a solid, and the reaction forms a salt, basically a salt. Right, metal oxides reacts with an acid, and that forms a salt, metal, maybe metal halide, metal sulfate, metal nitrate, whatever. And also we are left over with some amount of metal oxide. So to remove a solid reactant from an aqueous reactant to an aqueous product, we need to do filtration. So D for donkey. Let's move on to 21. A substance is heated with aluminium foil in sodium hydroxide. A gas is produced which turns damp red litmus paper blue. Which anion is present in the substance? Now, the keyword here is that it's heated with aluminium foil in aqueous sodium hydroxide. These three reactants are used in nitrate test. So answer is C. 22. An element does not conduct electricity and exists as diatomic molecules. Where in the periodic table is the element found? So it sounds like it's a covalent molecule. So the answer is C, as non-metals form covalent molecules, and not D, because D is a noble gas, and C is found in the non-metallic region. In the periodic table, how does the metallic character of the elements vary from left to right across a period? So the metallic character actually decreases throughout, or should I say across a period. Next, 24. The elements in a group of the periodic table show the following trends. The element with the lowest proton number has the lowest reactivity. All the elements in the group form basic oxides. The density of the elements increases down the group, and the melting point of the elements decreases down the group. In which group are the elements found? So, first clue is statement 2. Basic oxides are formed from metal oxides. So that pretty much tells us that it is unlikely to come from group 6 or group 7. Or even group 4, in fact. So answer is A. Because A is our alkali metals. In fact, it is lithium, sodium, potassium, and then out of all the group 1 metals, lithium has the lowest reactivity. And all of them form basic oxides. The density does increase down the group, and the melting point does decrease down the group. So that sounds about right. Answer is A. 25. Brass is an alloy of two metals. Which row gives the correct use of the two metals from which brass is made? Now, brass is actually made from a mixture of copper and also our zinc. So copper is used for electrical wiring due to its good ductility and electrical conductivity. Zinc is used in galvanizing as it's more reactive than, I would say, iron, allowing it to protect the steel from rusting. Now, 26. Iron is extracted from hematite in a blast furnace. The hematite contains silicon dioxide as an impurity. What reacts with this impurity to remove it? That will be calcium oxide. Calcium oxide acts as a base and reacts with silicon dioxide, which is a non-metal oxide, and that's a acidic oxide. And together they react to form a chemical known as slag and can be used in different industries. 27. The reaction below is called the thermite reaction. Which pair of substances react in a similar way? Now, if you look at this reaction, it follows this format: A plus BC turns into AC plus B. Now, that's actually a standard displacement reaction. So for a displacement reaction to occur, there must be one element that is more reactive than the other element in the compound. So in our series here, it seems like the best answer is C, because magnesium is more reactive than copper. The rest, iron is less reactive than magnesium or zinc, and zinc is less reactive than aluminum. So answer 47 is C. 28. One method of preventing the rusting of iron is to keep oxygen away from the surface of the metal. Which way of rust prevention does not use this method? So that will be B for board. Connecting the iron to a more reactive metal. There is not really a barium method. For the statement, it refers to a barium method, which is to prevent the entry of oxygen or moisture into the metal. Coating the substance, or should I say this, the iron with grease, plastic, or paint allows you to prevent entry of oxygen and water. But connecting the iron to a more reactive metal works a different way, which is by sacrificial protection. 29. The diagram shows how water is treated to make it suitable for drinking. What happens in stage 2? Before chlorination, the water is actually filtered first to remove any insoluble solids. 30. Nitrogen monoxide is produced in a car engine when petrol is burnt. The gases from the car engine are passed through a catalytic converter. In the catalytic converter, the nitrogen monoxide reacts with carbon monoxide to form nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Which statement is not correct? Now, first of all, catalytic converter will cause carbon monoxide and nitrogen monoxide to react and form carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas, which are considerably less harmful gases to be released to the atmosphere. Right? So now, the issue here is that carbon monoxide is indeed oxidized, while nitrogen monoxide is indeed reduced in the reaction, just by looking at the oxygen transfer. So A and B are correct statements, and then C is correct as well. Nitrogen monoxide is formed by the reaction of nitrogen and oxygen, okay, because of high heat in the car engines that provides sufficient activation energy for them to react to form nitrogen monoxide. However, B is incorrect because carbon monoxide is produced by incomplete combustion of petrol instead. Question 31. Which pollutant gas can be produced as a result of incomplete combustion of octane? So since this is a hydrocarbon, it will form carbon monoxide via incomplete combustion. So answer is C. Question 32. Fertilizers are used to provide three elements needed to increase the yield of crops. Which two compounds will provide all three of these elements? So the keyword is NPK fertilizer. We just need to identify which one has all three elements, in that case, it seems like it is C, which has potassium, phosphate, and also nitrogen, phosphorus and also nitrogen, so NPK. So C is the answer. Move on to 33. What is the property of concentrated sulfuric acid, but not of dilute sulfuric acid, which is a dehydrating agent? Concentrated sulfuric acid can be used to dry gases and also can be used to, I would say, in esterification reaction to remove water from the alcohol and carboxylic acid, allowing them to form esters. The others should give a normal reaction because it is just a typical acid reaction, or should I say, a precipitation reaction. For C, it's more of providing a sulfate ion, allowing it to react with barium to form a barium sulfate precipitate. Now, 34, why does the farmer put lime on the soil? That is a base, which is to make the soil less acidic. 35. What is the name of fraction X? That will be naphtha. That is for the fractional distillation of petroleum, which has a list of products coming from the fractional distillation. 36. Which compounds are alkanes? Alkanes follow the general formula of CnH2n plus 2. It will not be a 1:2 ratio like X and Y. These are alkenes, which follows the ratio of 1:2. Instead, it is W and Z. So the CnH2n plus 2, B for boy. 37. The statements below are about alcohol homologous series. The alcohols have the same general formula since it's the same homologous series. The alcohols have similar chemical properties instead of different because they have the same functional group. And the melting points of alcohols actually increases as the number of carbon atoms increases. So the answer for 37 is C. 38. Which structure represents a compound that dissolves in water to form an acidic solution? So the key idea here is it must be, well, an acid. Alkanes are neutral, alkenes are neutral, And then alcohol is, I would say, considered neutral, right? And then B, which is a carboxylic acid. It is an acid shown by the carboxyl functional group. 39. The partial structure of an addition polymer is shown. What is the structure of the monomer used to make the polymer? First, we have to identify the repeating unit, which is this structure. And then since it is an addition polymer, the monomer is unsaturated. So we just need to place back the double bond, right? Place double bond back. So our answer is A for the monomer. Wait, hold on. No, not A, sorry, B. Right, B. 14. Which statement about polymers is correct? The answer here is D for donkey. Forming addition polymers form only one product. In fact, that is what addition reaction is all about. The rest are wrong because plastics are mostly non-biodegradable. Condensation polymers, not all of them give amino acid by hydrolysis, and then condensation polymer can be made in the lab. All right, that's all for this discussion. I hope to see you in the next one. If you're struggling in IGCSE Chemistry, you can actually visit our website and see how we can help you. All right, if you feel that you need help for the subject. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.